Right, I'm going to carry straight on. There is a few bits and pieces in the other video that I need to go over, but I want to quickly go on a little bit about drugs. Well, it's about drugs. This video is about drugs. It was what I was originally going to try and talk about when I first started talking about conspiracy theories, but it actually works out better this way. And well, it's all one story. I've got to see how I get through this video. It may well be, it could end up being longer, it could end up being shorter than a normal one. Maybe I might have to, I don't know, I'm just going to talk because I have to get these videos out because I have to get back to work. That's causing me a lot of stress at the minute. Just the thought of having to go back to work, having to deal with people, having to have arguments with people, let them know that, you know, you can't talk to me that way, which is what I have to do everywhere I go. Because what you have are jumped up little fucking cunts that think because they've got a black hat on, they're bigger than you or better than you and can talk down to you, and you have bosses that fucking trying to mug you off for your wages and think they can steal all your money and mug you off at the fucking same time while making money off your back and then act like you owe them for earning them money. And it just drives me round the fucking bend, the whole fucking lot of it. I hate it. I hate it. And ultimately I'm someone that doesn't really need to go to work. There's a lot of people with a lot of wealth that have wronged me, and I've got every capability in the world to go and take everything off of them that I choose, as and when I fucking choose to fucking do it. I just haven't done that yet. So there will come a time when I start my charity work, which I will highlight at some stage when I get round to it. I've just got to get a few videos up. At the minute, I've got to get back to work. How often or long I'm going to keep going to work is I don't want to go at all. But it ain't about what I want to do. I'm El Capitan, the son of the creator. This is a fictional TV series from Netflix that I'm hoping to get up onto Netflix, called The Exampla, the son of the creator in a fictional world called Anglia. Totally fiction. I'm the son of the fucking creator. Anyway, psychedelics. They used to be called hallucinogens. And now because of the media and the conspiracy theories network, they're called psychedelics. They were called hallucinogens when I was younger. I'm going to backtrack. I'm doing what I tell everyone else not to do, and just simply repeating shit out the media, while sometimes ignoring my own life experience, which tells me more than the media. Has been around my life, my whole life, and my whole experiences of taking those substances. None are good. In fact, I would recommend nobody to touch psychedelics in any way, shape, or form, because the ratio of people that fuck up on them is massive, more than any other thing on earth. More people suffer after taking them for the duration of their life. Some suffer complete meltdown. Some suffer going into themselves, can suffer in all manner of walks of life after taking those substances. I'm going to tell some people some of the stuff, because the more I think about it, the more bullshit it is. Anyway, I just want to get to this because I'm from a background of the rave scene. I was there at the beginning of the fucking rave scene. I went to my first rave when I was 11 or 12. According to the internet, it's 12. I thought I was 11. I thought I was in the first year of high school when I went to fucking Exodus. I might not have been. It could have been the second year of high school. Again, I'm not 100% fucking sure. I thought it was the first year of high school. It could well have been the second year of high school. But I went right at the beginning. I was at the first, some of the first few raves of Exodus. And I'd been involved in the acid house shit. My cousin was into fucking acid house. So I was listening to tapes and that. I'm going to go into him in a little while. So I grew up around that, the entire rave, from the start of the rave scene. That was my era. And as a young child, you see a lot more. You're a lot cleverer as a kid than you are as an adult. You get thicker, dumber, more childlike, and more mentally ill as you grow in age, which I'm going to go into. So you see more. You're more alert as a child. Then obviously the more you start taking substances, alcohol, drugs, the more oblivious you can become, and more fucked up in the head and mentally ill. Now, I just want to get to Graham Hancock, who was advertised on the BBC, and that book then becomes an international bestseller, because it was given free advertising all over the TV and in the newspapers and shit. He rubbished the entire history of the world with that book, claiming that everything in there, and then what he rubbished, he then starts using in his other fucking books. Now, he claimed that evolution, what you're taught, is bullshit. That it didn't go from there to there because those buildings prove that otherwise. Anyway, this book, Supernatural, he is claiming that no different from Terence McKenna, just slightly different. Terence McKenna claimed, his theory is that a monkey ate a magic mushroom, and that's how they gain the intelligence to become a human being. The stoned ape theory, he called it. Graham Hancock claims that in that book that he's using Homo sapiens, all of this shit. So he's using caveman shit. So he's saying that human beings went from monkey to caveman. And then he's trying to claim that, again, claiming that psychedelics were what gave the human being its intelligence. He claims that all over the world, all the ancient cave art from around the world is evidence that they were painting pictures, drawing patterns, like they were on the psychedelic drugs. He claims that the Greeks, all the master thinkers in Greece and the people who run Greece, in all the Greek stories took ergot, which LSD is synthesized ergot, allegedly. Synthesized ergot, which is a mold or something like that. He claims that the Greeks all took that, and that's how their great intelligence came about. And he is basically claiming that the reason a human being came to have our intelligence was an accident, according to evolution, and that a primitive human between monkey and modern day human ate mushrooms or some form of psychedelic plant, and that's what made us intelligent. Now, let me tell people, because again, they're just talking to an audience, and Graham, and they do make out that it's quite dangerous. So they are telling, because what they're doing is shitting you up at the same time, so that you won't take those substances. And yeah, with all the juju, magic, witchcraft, and all this, it's just, if normal people made those claims, they would be you wouldn't even get you wouldn't get publishing rights, and if you managed to get managed to publish yourself a book, you wouldn't be able to advertise it to the world, so no one would read it. Only with advertising to the world via the mainstream media, and the free advertising that the monarchy do for all their agendas. Free advertising. Free advertising is being put on TV and advertised. That's free advertising. Or now they use the internet, but he was done on TV and through the newspapers. So it's free advertising. So without that advertising, no book can become an international bestseller. Just like the Belle de Joux, they also did that with that 50 Shades of Grey, a book about abuse, sexual abuse. I've not read it. I just remember hearing about it everywhere and knowing that a lot of women and that were being made to follow into the reading that shit. And I know that's sort of come out because my stalker's a fucking mental patient. I'll go into that wacko at some other stage, but yeah, because I don't want to talk about that now, but I'm just talking about literature and how it's advertised. So they make a big deal out of that, and then they made a film about, and what they do, if it's one of their proper agendas, they will make sure that there is a film about the book, so that you don't even have to read the book. So those that can't even be bothered to read the book will watch the film instead. So they will get that story of weird fucked up sexual abuse. From what I can make out, it's a bloke who ties up a woman and shit, and does weird shit, weird fucked up shit. I have pointed out that there is no such thing on earth as your sexuality, just like there is no such thing on earth as spirituality. That's for mental patients, both of those outlets. Now, so let me tell people of my experience. And like I said, the numbers ain't great. So that's why I wouldn't even advertise that. And when I thought about what I'd said, even down to drinking a cup of mushroom tea, Bowled, Ugly Dex brother, who was my mate, who I grew up with, who was part of my group of friends through high school. He may well be affected by that his whole life. I don't know, because I haven't spoken to him about it. But just drinking a cup of mushroom tea at my house, I was scared the whole night that he weren't coming back. And I'll explain, you know, what took place. I might as well tell that story now. Anyway, basically, a couple of my mates had been to fucking Bovenden Market. They've gone, right, we're going to do a load of mushrooms. We've bought a load of mushrooms, and I'd just split up with my boy's mum, and I was in the process of selling our house. So I said, right, fuck this, we'll go up to mine and we'll have a session at my house. We'll just fucking have a fucking, like a leave-in do fucking sort of fucking party thing at my house, and fucking get mashed up and fucking take a load of fucking mushrooms. So they've got fucking mushrooms, and they've come back, and we've got a few bags of fucking Hawaiian fucking red caps, I think they're called, where, you know, they're laughy ones. And I just want to get to this as well, just while I'm on it. That geezer Mad Steve allegedly ate a carrier bag of magic mushrooms, but those magic mushrooms are natural wild ones that were picked. Well, I'm not 100% sure whether he ate a whole, you know, because the exaggeration of everything as when you're a child, and from the exaggerators, that everybody has to exaggerate the story as they're telling it. Now, they were natural grown Liberty caps. What is on the market and what people grow, because there's a market to grow these kits and stuff, they claim are natural. I would say they're mutants, because they originate from the same source as the mutant skunk. Vast amounts of what they call magic mushrooms, which came onto the market through those shops and at Bovenden Market, and these grow kits that you can buy, but you buy them from Amsterdam. A lot of them come from Amsterdam, who were the originators of the cross-pollination and the mutant skunk cannabis plant. I'm pretty certain that those mushrooms are mutants that they've just crossed and made loads of different high-strength mutant plants that are a million times stronger than a Liberty cap that you'd pick in a field. And they're bad enough. But they aren't as strong as the ones that those ones that they're claiming are from other countries, like Hawaiian red caps. Anyway, what we did, we had, I'd say they're mutants. No different from a skunk plant is a mutant. They've just crossing and cross-pollinating two different things to make a fucking mutant. Genetically modified plant. It's a genetically modified plant. Skunk is a genetically modified plant. It's not a natural plant. It's a completely genetically modified cross hybrid mutant. And I'd say those mushrooms are as well, which would be what people would try to obtain. Most won't go out picking. They would either buy a grow kit or buy mushrooms off of people who have grown them using those grow kits. They are not organic magic mushrooms, what you would find out growing in the fields. The Liberty cap in this country is the only one you can get, I think. The fly agaric. Now, just while I mention the fly agaric, my experience with the fly agaric was nothing. I made a cup of tea out of dried fly agaric that I bought from a shop. And all that took place was that basically I woke up the next morning in a pool of sweat. I did sleep very well. I think I slept for about 15, 16 hours and woke up in a fucking pool of fucking sweat. And that's that. I didn't have any form of trip whatsoever. But yeah, those mushrooms that are on the market, and I just want to point this out. Anyone who thinks that I'm lying or exaggerating events in my life, I have not even fucking started. I am still skittering around the edge of some of the events and things that have taken place. Which is the point I'm trying to make, and has been. It's because people don't understand their own reality, which is a revolting, disgusting hellhole, where death rates equal those in war zones, bar it's drugs and alcohol and mental illness that are the cause of those deaths instead of bullets. And it is as bad as it sounds. It's worse, and it's still going on all around my ears, which I will go into. But I am not exaggerating or lying on any front of any of these events. I don't care who believes me. If you're from, most people, when I watched fucking, I remember when I started, when I saw Shameless for the first fucking time in my life, it was like, wow, this is like a mockumentary of my life. To a certain degree. And yeah, I'm only just getting started on the tales of, well, not tales, the stories of my life. Now, this incident involving Boled, this was basically, so I must have been about 24, I think. And yeah, someone said we'd get mushrooms. I said, oh, I'll get a load of mushrooms in. Fucking, you know. And basically, what we did, we had a few bags of, there was a few bags of Hawaiian red caps, and then there was this like fucking sealed fucking packet box thing with fucking scientific research fucking shit written on it, and there was like these fucking equatorial fucking blue fucking mushroom things in there. There was only a couple of them motherfuckers in there. Like literally one or two. And we was drinking tea, so and there was what? There must have been a fucking good load of us there. I think there was about fucking 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8, or other people drive, but there was 5, 6, 7 of us. So we're drinking this fucking, so we're drinking the fucking Hawaiian red caps and shit like that, and fucking, it's a good laugh. They're quite a giggly mushroom, and then we've whacked these other ones in the pot as well. And then it just went a little bit fucking, well, mad. And not Boled had fucking went. He went. And that's the only word I can describe it as, went. He went vacant. He weren't in his body. He literally, his expression changed, and he went like that. And you're going, and he weren't fucking responding. He nothing registered on his face. It was like there was a body there, that he was no longer inhabiting. And that would be the only way that I could fucking describe that. What took place. Didn't move, didn't say a word. And I remember saying, don't fucking talk to him. Do not fucking take the piss. Because what happens is on mushrooms, you can see people start taking the piss. You're taking the piss out of each other if you're having a good laugh and stuff. But, you know, if someone ain't having a good time and everyone starts taking the piss out of them, that's where they start fucking up. And I just want to get to this because the ratio of people that fuck up on these things is massively high. And I mean high. Now, I don't know. Bowled has led a life. He lives over in Canada now. He came back into the body after fucking a long time. 6, 7, 8 hours. All of a sudden, he just said a word. And it was like, wow. Because the whole night I'd said, get the fuck away, you don't say a fucking word to him now, leave him alone, just fucking let him fucking just sit there, just don't fucking say a fucking word to him. And he was just sat there while we were all fucking, and another one of my mates was half fucking up at the same time. And so there's a couple of them down one end of the table, one's fucked up, one's half fucking up, and then there's a load of us having a laugh up the other end of the table, and it was a bit weird. And that's after like fucking, yeah, about 8 hours, you know, and he's lived his life, but I'm pretty certain that event did affect him in some ways or other. I haven't spoken to him about it in great depth, really, about that. But he nearly fucked up, and he nearly went, completely went. The first trip I ever did, there was a bloke there who fucked up, and has never been the same since. And I mean never, he's never been the same since. As a kid, Grant was his name. Is his name. As a kid, I had pictures. I had long blonde hair and in curtains, and he was part of Big D's mates, and he had long blonde curtains as well. And one of my nicknames was Little Grant. And I ended up taking my first trip with Big D, geezer I know from up by the corner house, from Marsh Farm, who was in Marsh Farm as well, but him and a geezer who can go a bit crackers every now and then, and Grant. Grant freaked out. We were all having a fucking wicked laugh, doing mad shit. It was funny. One of the geezers he was in a fucking cupboard all night that had loads of porno mags in this cupboard, and he was basically shut himself in the fucking cupboard, and he was in the Euro porn tunnel and was poking fucking porno mags underneath the fucking door all night, saying I'm in the Euro porn tunnel, you know. And when you're high on fucking acid, that, you know, it was it was the most funniest day of my fucking life. I was 16 at the time. I'd just left school. We were in the wheat sheaf, drinking in the wheat sheaf, and then we'd gone to Marsh Farm to get the acids. I think we'd skanked a fucking taxi there, and fucking ended up back round the geezer who can go a bit crackers his fucking house, and fucking that geezer freaked out. He jumped up and went, "You's lot fucking mad," and then just run out the fucking door. Now, before that, he was like a geezer, just like everyone else. You could good laugh. You could talk to, have a good laugh. He was like a fuck. And then every time I've seen that geezer since that day was nearly a non-responsive fucking complete wacko that was just stood at the end of a bar. At first, he just you couldn't get anything out of him. All he'd do is go mash up, and then you just didn't. You'd say, all right, Grant, and he would just look through you like he'd never ever fucking met you before in his life. From that day, that was the first time I ever took trips. The first time I ever heard about trips. LSD. Because LSD is the strongest form. Apparently, allegedly, it's synthesized ergot, which is a form of mold or something. I think it grows on bread. Something like that. And my first ever experience of this or hearing about them was on my estate. There was an Irish, well, there was loads of Irish people, but they were like an Irish family who came there, and the younger brother, he was, again, I was little and I was hanging around with a lot older people a lot of the time, and so I watch my first porno and shit round his house, and you know, you're out with everyone and fucking all of that, and you know, he's not my mate, but you know, I'm round them enough, and him and another geezer's older brother had taken these fucking super ghetto fixes, and they'd fucking, my mum and that were having a party, and they've walked into the party tripping off their nut. I think they got throughout the party. This is some of the story that I got, and then my mum caused all this because she's just fucking, you know, a drunken woman thinking that she's fucking hard because there's a few blokes around and they've got a drink in them. Because I will get to these fucking, a lot of women cause more fights. The women are the cause of a lot of fights with their fucking little cunt mouths and getting involved in man shit. And thinking they're big because they can get other men to fucking do shit. They're fucking poisonous little fucking shit-stirring little cunt mouths. Anyway, my mum had gone up to him while he's tripping off his nut, and another woman, and started, because he'd done a bit of work. He'd been working with my stepdad. They've been staying down in Gloucester, I think it was, in a caravan, putting cable TV in, and my mum's gone gobbing off to him about that, saying, why are you coming in the house, or, you know what I mean, shouting at him and everything. And he attacked him. He beat my mum up. He beat my mum up, and the woman that my mum was with, who was the girlfriend of another person that he'd been working with, and they put a beating on him. He got a load of blokes put a beating on him with pickaxe handles and everything, like mashed him up bad. And he ended up getting arrested, and he was handcuffed, fucking headbutting the fucking floor and all of this. Yeah, that's acid. That was my first ever hearing about acid. The first time I ever took acid, a geezer that I'd known since I was a young kid, all through high school and after high school, because he was one of Big D's mates. He fucked up. He fucked up. I'm pretty certain that it was that, because certainly that night he ran out that room going, "You lot are fucking mad. You lot are fucking mad." And then from that moment on, he just weren't the same geezer. He went vacant. The girl I was on about, who I took trips with, she suffered a massive fucking breakdown, a complete loopy la la land with her head filled up with gunk. And I see her. I'm pretty certain it was more or less just after my fucking cousin had died. It may have even just been after his fucking the wake. It was definitely around that sort of time. And she had suffered a massive mental breakdown. She was a complete wacko, and she was writing. I'd seen these things that she'd written on a fucking piece of paper, and it was all about Exodus, Babylon, and what they're talking about. And it was weird, like it had infected her mind, living there that much, that it had literally sent her insane. And I'm saying to people in there, what the fuck are you doing? This fucking girl's fucked up. She's fucked up. You need to get this fucking girl help. And they would not get her help. They were going, nah, she'll be all right. Just leave her while she was going deeper and deeper and deeper into insanity caused by taking of acid. And she suffered her whole life from that episode, from that breakdown. I don't think she's ever been the same ever since. A number of other people at Exodus, around Exodus, who took a lot of acid. Another girl, I might as well say it, she took loads of acid. She was a mixed race girl who is now a crackhead, who lived in another squat, because what you had are kids copying Exodus and squatting buildings and shit places. And we knew a load of girls, they squatted up next to the fucking hotel just as you get onto the fucking travel lodge or travelling or some shit like that, just as you get onto the fucking motorway up by the hospital. They had a squat on the road next to that. I think she was fucking 14 or 15 when I first met her. I was 16 or 17. Yeah, when I first met her, I think she was 14. I think I was 16. Was I? Yeah, 16, I think. She's a woman. I'm just pointing this out. She's a woman that, you know, and I'm a man, and basically, you know, she's someone that I quite liked as a youngster. But I fancied the other one as well. But her I got with, and she fucked up. She lost the plot. Because rave bitches, I just want to get to this, rave party girls are the worst parents. And she ended up fucking burning her kid with fucking cigarettes. It got taken off of her. She's got kids now. And he's a crackhead. I don't care about what fucking people fucking claim their right is and all of that. I just want to get that out. You know, how can a crackhead who burnt her previous children with cigarettes is not fit to have a child? She's not fit to look after herself. Now, it's the walking dead, like a lot of people that I know who went to Exodus and who took trips. Acid is one of the first drugs that a lot of children take because it's cheap. It was cheaper than an ecstasy tablet. An ecstasy tablet back then was £10. An acid is fucking a couple of pounds. So what I'm trying to say is that and loads of them, loads of those kids fucked up, loads. They're just the ones I personally know. I know there was other people. There was a few of them that from Dunstable way who used to be part of it, weren't Exodus. They went to Exodus, and then they had their own little fucking stack system, sound system that they were putting on a DJ tech and an MC and that. And I don't know, but from what I heard, I think the MC suffered a fucking episode, and there was a few of them youngsters. They suffered like fucking mental breakdowns caused by taking of acid. That was my lifetime's experience. I took acid. I started taking it when I was 6. I took my first trip when I was 16, and then I didn't touch it for a couple of years, or another year or so. I then took it regularly. Me and Riz, when I first met Riz, when I first started hanging around with Riz, me and Riz used to take acid quite a lot. And when I was down at Exodus, we were down in the manor, Has Manor. We took loads of trips down and around there. You know, there's nothing spiritual involved in any of that. So I just want to point this out. Like, alcohol is when I say it's the most powerfulest mind-altering substance, I mean that it can turn a normal person and the most timid of people into a ranting, raving, fucking violent maniac and pervert, and you black out, you stagger around, you puke up. It fucks people up more than anything, but it's the easiest drug to get over, even though the next day you feel like you are gonna fucking die. It doesn't have a long last. What I'm saying is that if you then stop drinking that the next day and didn't touch, it has the least effect on the mind afterwards. Yet it's the most powerfulest why you're on it to a degree. What they call psychedelics are the most powerful, most dangerous mind-altering substance there is. Meaning that if it goes bad, it goes bad worse than any other drug and lasts your entire existence because it completely mind-alters you. The other day when I said it could expand your mind, it does. It can give you, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I definitely changed in certain things regarding acid, and it's hard to put it into words how, but it does change people. It can enhance your awareness. Like I said again, I would advise people not to. A Liberty Cap picked and put into a cup of tea is different to what we were putting in cups of tea when Bowlhead fucked up. Bowlhead came back, thank fuck. But he was in the back of my mind, even though we were having a laugh and doing mad fucked up shit. He was in the back of my eye is on him all night, just thinking, oh, please come back, I hope you come back into your body, because he'd left. He weren't there. He was just like this, just vacant. His eyes were open, but he weren't registering. There was nothing there, you know what I mean? Like, there was nothing there, and he came back, thank fuck. But I'm pretty certain that that event would be something that's stuck in his head for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're not things for people to fucking. I wouldn't recommend anyone fucking taking them substances. And the way they are fucking doing it now, in what's his name's book, he doesn't really talk about mushrooms. See, this is what I'm saying. They complement each other, all the people on the without actually all agreeing on everything at the same time to make it look like there's a difference of opinions on certain things, while all backing each other at the same time. So he's claiming the stoned ape theory, but then he, in his book, that Supernatural, claims that he ate a few mushrooms while sat at fucking Stonehenge. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's claiming that those structures mean anything, when Stonehenge is just a fucking pile of fucking stones in a fucking circle that means nothing. It's the tourist attraction for wackos that was built in the 19th century using cranes. It's very easy to build Stonehenge. It's just a few stones. Avesbury is literally stones that are set in concrete. They're all set in concrete. It's set in concrete. They are set in concrete. If you go up to the stones in Avesbury and go like that to the fucking floor around them, they are set in concrete. It's just bullshit for fucking babies. Yeah, man. Pagans on drugs. Yeah, man. Witchcraft. And they think, because you get fucking wackos all thinking they're fairies and shit. Loads of people, in fact, loads and loads of people that I know that took lots of acid and other fucking mind bendings. You know, there's loads, because it then went into ketamine. I was an ecstasy taker, ecstasy and amphetamine, speed and ecstasy. Acid I took for literally a couple of months on a regular basis. Me, Riz, and a geezer called DJ Echo. I took a few with DJ Echo. I didn't take loads of him. I took loads with Riz. I took a few with Roach. Roach was around, and Fucknose as well. Fucknose is fucked up on that shit as well. But he came back. It didn't affect him, like, properly ruin his life. But that's what I'm saying. They do affect your life. Everyone's life in one way or another somehow. I definitely wouldn't recommend them. But if you was to ask me what my favourite drug is, I would tell you that it's them, because I had the best laugh I ever had in my life on those substances. Literally rolling around on the floor, your stomach hurting with laughing. But at the same time, after a couple of months, I was like, wow, no way, I can't keep taking that shit, because my head is starting to fucking twist. So I did stop taking them. I was into fucking, I didn't touch hallucinogens or fucking psychedelics again till we did those mushrooms at my house. Well, I think I did them a couple of weeks before that as well, at Fucknose's house. So that was why they'd come back into everyone's attention. So we'd done mushrooms at Fucknose's house, made a few bags in a couple of tea between about fucking 10 of us. And had a fucking, because it's short-lived. A mushroom trip is short-lived compared to an acid trip. A mushroom trip will last fucking about 4 hours. From 2 to fucking 4 hours, depending on how much you've done and what strength. Whereas a fucking acid trip can last fucking 12 hours. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's dangerous stuff. And like I said, if those conspiracy theories networks that are on the conspiracy network that are telling you, like fucking Joe Rogan is on one show, that they're blowing up fucking these things, they're killing all these people and all of that, and then taking large amount of mushrooms like that, 5 grams of dried mushrooms in the dark on your own, is basically, they are literally giving people advice on how to fucking go into a drug-induced psychosis. And then run round like a wacko, doing what the authorities wanted everyone to do, is then think that someone who talks about the actual conspiracy is one of these wackos on drugs running around. It's complete fiction. Complete fiction. Complete fiction in books using literature to program. And like I said, do any of those substances really do anything different? I'm not sure how a 2-minute trip or a few second-minute trip or however long a fucking DMT trip is. I tried buying DMT, and in fact I saw the little fucking cunt who I tried buying it off, and he a little while ago at Wix's, and I forgot the little fucking runt little cunt of a man owed me £100 because he fucking thought he could try and rip me off. The next time I see him, I'll remember that. And he better make sure that I've got that money, because otherwise he'll fucking pay for thinking that he can rip me off, the fucking little cunt. Well, I've just remembered that, actually. I forgot it when I saw him, because I hadn't seen him for fucking years. And it was quick out of the window while I was tying up some timber for this place. But yeah, I was then shown basically that that is not the way to go. That is no form of enlightenment. You can't be told enlightenment. You have to see it for yourself, which takes years and years and years and years of questioning, looking and reasoning with your surroundings and your own life. How can a few hours you can gain knowledge of the world? You can't. You can only gain knowledge of the world by questioning your experience of the world from birth till now, which is the conspiracy. Your existence, your everyday life from the day you were born till now, that is the conspiracy. That's what the conspiracy networks do, and that's the point I'm trying to get to, is that they take everybody completely away from their reality into the world of conspiracy theories and gunk regarding ancient structures, lost civilizations, the pre-dawn of time, drugs. Drugs. They're poisons. The chemical inside a magic mushroom is a poison that starts to affect your body as a poison. Meaning it starts to fuck you up. And messes with your fucking sign. Who told people about magic mushrooms? They were marketed to hippies in the 60s. And then that gets passed down where you go and get the mushrooms and shit. Because they've done the same thing over and over and over and over again. Does it expand your mind? Or are you just gathering vast amounts more? Do you become more interested? It did expand my mind. In a way, it did. It made me think of things differently, look at things differently. It did have a benefits of some form, but may have also come with side effects as well. taking them substances make you more prone to becoming an addict, maybe? So, you know, there's a lot to ask and answer. And is a thirst for knowledge and being more interested in certain gunk subjects, is that benefit to your life? Or is it benefit to the asylum where you'll just be drawn into looking deeper into into subjects? I don't know. I think that levels of intelligence that human beings, where they're not intelligence, it's not intelligence, it's levels of knowledge, not intelligence. Intelligence is your skills basis, what you're able to do with your own body, not what you're able to repeat. That's intelligence. Being able to do everything for yourself, that's intelligent. Being able to look after yourself, being able to understand your own surroundings is intelligence. Being able to repeat vast amounts of gunk about things that you can't see with your own eyes, about things that have no relevance in your life, is thick and pointless information, which is what the conspiracy theory is. The conspiracy is your life. Which leads me to the conspiracy that's been my life, which is where the real conspiracy lies, and which is where you know, ultimately where you need to sort out, which is your own surroundings. My conspiracy of my life was the rave scene, and society and the authorities putting me onto drugs, killing my family, killing my friends, causing nothing but problems in my life, my son's life, vast amount, and nearly everyone I know's lives in one way or another regarding drug addiction. In one form or another. Alcohol. The majority of people I know, it's the alcohol that was the cause, combined with the drugs. It's that combination. Most of us are alcoholics, first and foremost. Alcoholic drug takers. I then became a drug taker, where the drug addiction took over from the alcohol. But that took many years for that to take place. Many years. But I was targeted from a child. And I want to get to this. See, if you lived up there in the village of Harlington, what goes on and the reality of a place like Luton, which is just down the road, a few miles away, 10-minute drive, if that, 5 minutes on a train. Those two worlds don't correspond. Those two different realities are worlds apart. Those people up there, some won't even know that that world exists. That'll be a place where they won't even go into to do their shopping. They'll go to somewhere else because they don't like the look of that place. It's too rough for them. So they don't know about that world or understand that world or fucking know anything about that world whatsoever. They don't know about a lot, about anything. They're wackos in Wacko Wonderworld. Flowers, £4 coffees, church, and just being good. But they've got, you know, But there's a lot of drugs in places. I'm not sure about Harlan's, a bit of a small place, but the villages are full of drugs. A lot of them take fucking the powerful ones, the psychedelics, hallucinogens, and they are complete wackos. Suffering mental illness, ketamine, and fucking things like that. A lot of my boys' mates from Barton, again, he tells me now that a lot of them, even because he's not a drug taker, so he probably notices it more than I did. But he's told me, like, loads of his mates, like all his mates, because he went to Amptill, he didn't go to Harlington Upper School, but he reckons that all his mates, his age group, were on drugs in Harlington Upper School, taking MDMA powder. That MDMA powder has got nothing to do with ecstasy. It's not even the same thing. That is not ecstasy. What they call MDMA powder, MDMA, that brown, sugary looking fucking crystal, that is not even ecstasy. It's not even ecstasy. It's not even the same thing. That is not ecstasy. That's not ecstasy that was in tablet form when the rave scene first started. That is not even MDMA powder, which first came out when they turned the ecstasy tablet shit and then started bringing this crystal glass shit out. That is like it's not even close. It doesn't even do the same thing. Same with now the amphetamines that say, because I bought some amphetamine when I went to Lyd Airport a few years ago, at a thing in Lyd Airport, an old school thing with fucking thingy bob and amphetamine. It keep you awake, but it don't give you no rushes. Old amphetamine used to give you fucking cold rushes that used to shoot up and down your fucking spine and fucking, well, you were rushing off your nut. You don't even get any rushes. It'll just keep you awake. The MDMA powder don't, old ecstasy was like with your eyes fucking rolling in the back of your fucking head and every hair on your body standing on end to touch every fucking hair follicle, which just fucking would buzz and rush your body up. You can't get that. You can't get that shit anymore. Not even close. The drug, what they sell now, are like piss poor imitations of what was originally available. Now, I want to talk about the conspiracy regarding the rave scene. My life, my conspiracy, the conspiracy that fucked my life up and governed my life for the majority of its existence was the rave scene. That was aimed at me by the rulers of society and put into place by slimy little motherfucking cunts that have profited from the putting of children onto drugs in this area and lord them fucking little cunt selves up like they are some fucking form of pillars of the fucking community and give them money by the people they claim they were against. I'm going to let you know just the fucking situation you find your fucking self in, you fucking little cunt pieces of fucking shit. And then when the fucking time comes and you're fucking face to face with the fucking person that you last on earth want to fucking come face to face with, you will fucking pay for what you fucking done. I swear to God, I will go fucking into one. You better learn the fucking situation, or it will come down upon you like you will never ever fucking imagine. because I can't have it. I won't have it. And that goes for every single fucking little cunt. I will start where I am. I'm going to start where I am and the people that I hold personally responsible for the death of my fucking family and my fucking friends and the cause of my fucking drug addiction my whole life with your fucking bullshit out your fucking little cunt mouths. And I will fucking round every one of you up and I will fucking hang up every motherfucker you know and from. And you will then understand the fucking pain and suffering of your fucking bullshit out your fucking little cunt mouths. Doubt that all you fucking want, you fucking little rat fucking cunt human beings. I will show you who fucking the big bad boy fucking don of this fucking town is, you fucking little cunts. Because not only did you fucking destroy the fucking people and murder everyone in it, you fucking little cunts with your fucking bullshit and your fucking cunt fucking little shit. You have destroyed this entire fucking town and you were working for the cunts who fucking foreign invaders to this fucking land, you fucking little fucks. You will fucking pay. You will fucking pay. I will fucking hang you up by your fucking legs and halal the motherfucker out of you. Kosher, dirty little Trenton. Pussy boys. You will fucking pay. Now, the other day, I'm going to put this fucking video up on there. Now, when you watch this video, Exodus was rich people. Exodus was made up from fucking little rich fucking little cunts that wouldn't have a clue about poverty. They don't know about poverty. They never fucking experienced poverty in their own life. It was a scam to get kids onto drugs so that they then become drug addicts through their entire existence, dependent and fucked, so that they ain't seeing the big picture in what's happening around their own ears and in their own land. That went all over the whole country. The rave scene was one thing. The Channel 4 documentary about Exodus, I watched this yesterday. The people that are talking on that are rich people. They're rich. Sam Davis is on the first thing. Her brother was, I've spoke about it, was a bricklayer who I had a little scuffle with when I was fucking 15 years of age, when I did my work experience on a building site and I was taken to the Roman Legion pub. First time I went in the pub and he started acting big to me. It was her brother. Talking about poverty and places. They lived on one of the, there's probably, as you come into Luton, by Stockwood Park, opposite Stockwood Park, the A6 and Old Bedford Road are probably the richest areas in the whole of fucking Luton. That's where she lived, opposite the BP petrol station on the fucking A6. And she's talking from at Exodus about poverty and shit like that. Glenn Jenkins and that are from fucking, you know, their mum and dads are fucking run a pub. Being landlords and that's a very lucrative business. You know, they all live over in Spain now because they made so much money, you know. Rich fuckers. Randy and his little fucking cunt of a little cunt brother and his fucking little cunt old man were rich. They were all rich fucking cunts. Captain, they were rich. They're fucking rich. They were rich cunts. Exodus was made up of little rich fuckers. A couple of poor people dotted in, but the majority of the fucking kids and adults were fucking little rich fuckers. Fucking talk about poverty and shit like this. trying to use poverty. What they did was get children thrown out of their fucking parents' houses and then act like they're trying to fucking help them by having sex with children. Paedophiles would be a big word to use in their direction, because they're not children. They're not actual prepubescent children. But 15, 16-year-old girls, 17, 18-year-old girls are fucking little cunt children. That were with 25-year-old plus up men. Some nearing on the age of fucking 40. Late 30s. Children around drugs. A lot of those young girls sported black eyes on regular basis. There was no peace, and the TV programme is making it. They were all criminals, thieves, and begging little fucking cunts. There was no peace and love. There was no community fucking project on the go up there, like the TV programme is claiming. And that TV programme on Channel 4 came around just as they were starting to hold raves in Luton again. The piece of fucking thing, I'm going to put it up on there, claimed what happened was they started Exodus and it got massive, way too big, too quick, and they weren't expecting it. So what they did was do a police raid and then start holding raves in Luton Youth House. Now, Luton Youth House it is a council-owned building with council-paid fucking staff. Rastas. That were part of Exodus. They were everywhere. Every single fucking thing that was going on in Luton at that time, which was blacks and whites versus fucking Pakistanis, they were involved everywhere in that bullshit. They were everywhere. They were at Exodus. They were at the start of Exodus, and when Exodus first started, when I went, whether I was 11 or 12, you walked into the fucking thing, and you walked through a tunnel. You walked through the door, and then you walked through a tunnel of drug dealers. Live, ease, whiz, trips. As you walked through the door, it was basically a cattle market for drugs. You walked in, bought your drugs, and then they're playing you the fucking tunes and they're getting the kids going fucking mad. It got to 10,000 people rapidly quick, which was too big. So what they did, they made out that they'd done a police raid on them and then allowed them to hold a load of raves in Luton Youth House. No one from Luton Youth House got sacked over that. Apparently, in the newspapers at that moment in time, every day is stories about ecstasy, killing people, that the rave scene is the worst thing ever, kids on drugs. It was basically in the newspapers as devil shit. Oh my God, this is the worst fucking possible thing that could ever happen to society. Yet, in Luton, they were holding raves in a youth house. Luton Youth House belonged to Luton Council. It didn't belong to Rastas. Or black people that were running it. Who were part of Exodus at the beginning. They were everywhere. Those fuckers were everywhere. The people that were involved with Luton Youth House. Because I saw them as kids. I was around everything as a kid, so I watched everything. They then held a over 14s rave with LTJ Bookham after that. So they're still holding raves in a fucking youth centre while the newspaper is doing that. It's council owned. They're council paid staff. That it would be illegal and you would be sacked with immediate effect if they did not want that to take place. Fucking bullshit for fucking little kids. Then what took place is that they then went doing raves in fucking a club, so they weren't an illegal rave fucking organisation anymore. They were being held in clubs. When that TV series came back on, was after the numbers of the original first rave scene, it had died down a little bit, so you wouldn't have got 10,000 people. They then bought that TV series was on TV just as they started to hold illegal raves in the area again, to build up popularity for that. On the information that I read yesterday, what happened was, and this is how they did it, because what you would get would be the police saying, why aren't we busting these people? Why is this going on? So what took place was there was a police raid on Charlton Farm and they found a load of ecstasy tablets that, according to everyone from Exodus, were there. But what they did was put his passport, because it was Paul Taylor, Bigsy, big bad fucking Bigsy, who put his passport, he had his passport in the fucking place where the ecstasy tablets were. Now this is before, this is in the 90s. They did have video technology but chose not to use it when they were doing a big drugs raid on a fucking rave organisation. So that when it got to the place, they had a top barrister that was already in place because it was a staged event. So that then they'd turn around and say, as if you would hold loads of illegal drugs with your passport. So what they did is up at Has Manor, where they were selling cannabis, openly selling cannabis for the entire period that they were there, they told everyone, put your passport with the drugs, and if the police come, then you won't get done for it, because we'll just say as if you're going to sell drugs with your passport there. That way, all the little dickhead coppers that ain't Freemasons and in on that fucking big scam would say, why aren't we raiding them? And they'd say, well, we tried to raid them and they've managed to get off this charge. So if we go near them again, we're going to be done for harassment. So it worked on both levels, the one raid. It was bullshit. Ultimately, let me put it to you like this, yeah? Every rave in the entire country could have been shut down in a fucking instant. Because they spread the lies through the fucking children. Oh yeah, they need so many people per fucking person to do a police raid. Bullshit. How do they control football violence then? When you have 70,000 people stadiums you could have up to 10,000 football hooligans. Thousands and thousands of football hooligans that are fighters, violent. Their aim is violence. They can stop that and can control that. 2,000 fucking loved up fucking ravers. And it's very easy to stop. And the numbers would go down to hundreds in the morning. Hundreds. So that's very easy, and everybody knew where to meet. So you're meeting in the fucking streets. You could block off the whole fucking... They can block roads and fucking do what the fuck they want when they want to fucking do it. And they can control football violence and large-scale fucking events with hundreds of thousands of fucking people. If they wanted to stop that rave, they could have stopped that rave on a million different fronts, a million different things. And all they would have had to do is dress up as a raver, have a camera on, and walk in the place, and you would have seen drug dealers everywhere. They weren't doing fucking ID checks on anyone as you walked in the fucking door. I got in there when I was 11 or 12. Stupid bullshit for fucking little cunt kids. And was given advertising on the fucking telly. The geezer on that fucking video, DJ fucking guy, oh, it's better than, you know, he was the bloke who's going out with a fucking young girl. In all fairness, and I will say in fairness, she did look a bit older than what she was. She looked a bit like Rachel Hunter from what I can remember as a child. They were a few years older than me. But still, a fucking child on drugs. And you've got a bloke on national TV claiming that they're better than social workers. Getting kids onto fucking drugs. I started going Exodus when I was about fucking 14. Now let me just tell you my life. Because people say it's down to choice, but like I said, those people that live up there don't understand that world down there. Even people in Luton who live in the rich areas don't understand what goes on in the poor areas. Choice. Religious people claim that you have choice. What choice? My life is chance. Although it's a plan, everybody's life in this world would be down to chance. If you're looking at it as the reality of the situation. Choice. What choice do you get in your life? If you're targeted from child, none. Because you're a baby. And your life is dictated to you from baby without a single bit of fucking choice in the matter. Do you choose your parents? No. So the very first fucking thing and the most important thing is who you're born to. Do you choose your parents? No. So the very first thing in life you have no fucking choice over, and that can be what governs the rest of your existence from the day you were fucking born, is your parents. So how do you have any fucking choice in this world? You do not have a single fucking piece of choice ever. There's no choice. Because your parents have no fucking choice on the matter. On a million different things. There is no choice on anything. It's chance. Now, I'm born to a woman or child. My mum was 16 years of age when I was born. She was 15 years of age when she got pregnant. I think my dad, or the sperm donor, because he's not my dad, was 17 or 18 in the boater. I think, I don't know, I'd say my mum was a spoilt little fucking brat that had everything she really wanted. She was expelled from school at 15, pregnant, had tattoos. So I'm not sure that, you know, I think they were too busy running the pub to be fucking really looking after my mum that well. Spoilt little brat, I think. Well, I don't know. I don't care either. I can't choose who I'm born to. Back in the 80s, tattoos weren't really a fucking thing. Not many people had tattoos like they do today. Back in the early 80s or 70s when I was in the 70s for fucking 2 days, but anyway, in the 80s, you know, there was still a thing about being a bastard, being from a single parent family was still quite, although there was shitloads of single parents, it was like to other kids, it was quite a big thing. Can be a big thing that affects people in other ways, but again, like I said, I'm not here to talk, and I'm definitely not here for fucking sympathy. I'm just simply explaining the facts, because I was lucky, but millions of people are unlucky. I was lucky. Some people will hear what I'm talking about and think, wow, that sounds like a horror story. Well, it's not. There is good and bad in it. But I was a lucky little kid on a million different fucking fronts. So, my mum's dad's died. They've lost the pub where they'd been for fucking the 16 years that my fucking mum was alive. They've then been given another pub in fucking Shefford, the New Inn. And then I think they lost that. My mum told me a story that the building had been condemned, but on the fucking registry of that fucking thing, it states that there was other landladies or landlords after my nan. So maybe that wasn't the case, and that was just what my nan had just, whatever happened. We then get a council house or what they call a social housing association, which is just council dressed up differently. Circle 33 was the name of the housing association. Upper Links Way. What choice do I have over that, where I'm born? None. That was all out of my hands. My nan then died when I was fucking 4 years of age. And now I'm left with a fucking piece of shit nearly 20-year-old who hadn't brought a fucking kid up because my nan had been bringing me up, didn't want me, was an alcoholic thing who just wanted to go out with her mates and get drunk and be a slag. Food addict, manic depressant, who'd lost both of her parents by the time she was 20, so she did suffer that as well. Well, I've got no choice in any of that matter, have I? No. It's not my choice. I was lucky that my nan had gone into overdrive to try to get me not to turn out like that piece of shit, my mum. But my mum was quite clever. She can I think I inherited the reading off of her, because her head was always in a fucking book. But she's just a mongo, spastic, like pretty much her whole generation. Yeah, alcoholics that are all well-hard. We're well-hard. Fuck them cunts. Because they're window lickers. Windlickers. That whole generation were Windlickers. We're Wellard. Wellard. All football hooligans and skinheads and fucking, they're all Wellard. Every fucking one of them, every fucking person of that generation is Wellard, and they do nothing but talk absolute bullshit about how Wellard they are. Fucking gunk. So what choice have I got in there? None. Where I grow up, the majority of the kids, the main group of kids on my estate are cunts. Everywhere I go, there are big groups of children that are all cunts. We're all cunts. Because the majority of us have cunts as parents. The majority had alcoholics as parents. My mum and dad, or stepdad, were alcoholics. They got drunk every single fucking day of the week, nearly. Drinking fucking bottles of Bacardi. Nearly every fucking day. Alcoholics. Smoked fucking 40 fags each a day. I have to go to school. That's not my choice. You're put around all the other kids that have to go to school. That's not your choice. You have to go to work, or you don't get hardly any money. They make sure that life is a fucking struggle for you. And that's only after the war, when they brought in the welfare system. Before that, it was just a struggle and you had no other choice. You had no choice whether you wanted to fight in the war. You have no choice in anything. The only choice that people get in this world is to be well behaved. Do as you were told. And then you get a little bit of choice on how you can spend that money, if you're lucky to have enough left to spend. That's the only choice. And it has to be done at where they dictate you're allowed to do that. Otherwise it is illegal. Now, I had no family. When I was born, we used to go to my uncle's house, who worked for the BBC. He lives on, lived on Capytain Road, I think. Just as you come in, big house. It's a big house on fucking, as you come down from fucking by Stockwood Park, or it's not, is it Tower Park? There's a park just up on the thing. I may have even seen my cousin the other day. I was in the park, sitting there smoking a joint, and a geezer walked in with glasses. I just remember my cousin, who lived on that road from that park, where the water tower is, that they've turned into a block of flats now. It looked like him. But what is he? Nobody. I was a kid. Blood, because I want to get to this, that your blood and shit and family actually mean fuck all. It depends on how you look at things. But anyway, he basically, walked into the park. It could have been him from when I was a fucking 4-year-old kid, because I didn't see him after 5 or 6. Because, so my nan had people around. she had family members. So she had, as a kid, I can remember the house being full and going to my uncle's house because my nan was doing all of that. He worked for the BBC. So he had loads of money. I remember going to their house. They had a snooker table. They had a fucking computer room, a snooker table room and a computer room. It's a massive house. There was two kids, Mark and Lisa, they were called. I've not seen them since I was 5 years of age, since my mum got with her boyfriend. So my nan died, and then my mum got with her boyfriend, her husband now, and then we never saw my mum's side of the family ever again. I got presents, so every Christmas I would get a birthday card with 20 quid in it and a Christmas present from them. But that was it. That was my mum just didn't speak to her own brother ever again. Once she got with her husband. That was my only family. That was my only family that I had any blood links to that I saw. And she stopped going to see them when I was fucking 6, when she got my stepdad. I think I saw him the year he turned up at Christmas and said, well, why didn't you tell me? My mum was pregnant. He said, how come she didn't tell me you were fucking pregnant or something? How come she not told me about that? You've not, why not? She's pregnant with my sister. So what I had was my stepdad's sister and my stepdad's mum and dad. Now, they were very nice to me. They called my nan and I called my nan and granddad, and I called her my auntie, but I didn't call my stepdad my dad. He was always called Dave. I never called him my dad because he was a cunt to me. I hated him. I can remember when my mum first said she's got a boyfriend. I can remember being quite happy about it. Wow, yeah, I've got a dad now. Because I wanted a dad. You want a dad as a kid because everyone else has got dads, and everyone asks you as a kid, who's your dad? Who's your dad? And I never knew who my dad was, so I just said, I don't know. And you're a bastard. What's a bastard? Oh, you're a bastard because you're a kid with no dad. You're a bastard. So you're born into a world as a child, and you're different. Other people are saying to you, where's your fucking dad? Why have you not got a dad? And my mum got with her husband. So I'm just telling you how I felt as a child. And I wanted a dad. So I was quite happy, but then he was just horrible to me all the time. And my mum became horrible to me as well with him. So I'll talk about it because it does go into the other story of it. I never got a single fucking no touch from my mum, meaning any form of affection from the moment her husband moved into my house. The moment her husband moved into my house, I weren't even allowed to go and wake my mum up. So I'm 6 years of age, and in the morning, when my nan had got, I would run in and go and try and wake my mum up on the bed, at least try to get some sort of response out of her, to get some breakfast or some shit. Most of the time I've got a drunken wreck, but I was allowed in to go and wake my mum up. And sometimes I'd jump in, you lay in her bed and shit like that. And I have explained it. She would normally, after she'd beaten me, I'd suffered a beating of some sort, she would be pretending to cuddle me and crying and shit, saying how sorry she was, that she loved me and all this. And I knew that she was just lying and would just get off. Even at a young age, I was under no illusions that, my mum didn't like me. That's not an uncommon occurrence. Like I've said, there's many kids that suffer that. And it normally does come, and it normally does stem from women who are involved in whatever music scene is around at that time. Which would have been hippies, which would have been skinheads, which would have been punk rockers, which would have been the mods, which would have been the rockers. Many different forms of it, but women that are involved in that scene that get pregnant with kids don't want to look after those fucking kids. They want to still be out having a party lifestyle. Which is the point, some of the points I'm trying to make. It is unfair on women because they're left on their own sometimes as well, because in that generation, there was a lot of absent fathers. Because that was when they were pushing, in like my stepnan, like their generation. They found you got involved with, husbands and wives was something that got settled when you were fucking young. You basically go to school, leave school, you go to a disco, you find yourself a date, and then you get married and buy a house, and that was the end of it, like. Then as the year they start teaching about, more liberal things at schools, they start teaching you about masturbation, pornography and shit like that starts becoming available. The programming on the TV is getting young girls into having sex. Even down to Greece. Like Greece is like, people should understand Greece. Greece is like shot as a kid's musical, with very adult themes mixed up in it, even though it's school kids. Underage pregnancies, drinking, smoking. You know what I mean? It's like the T-Birds were the start of heavy metal, nearly. But it's shot as a musical, like a weird gay fucking cunt musical. And Grange Hill and all of this, with, that generation. I'm not the only one. There was shitloads of people I know who had young mums who were around 16 years of age. Dumbed down little children that are now having children, who haven't even got a clue about themselves and are in no situation or to do anything really positive with those children. My son's mum, I think her mum was 16 as well, around that age when she had her. So it was quite a common. A few people I know's mums were very young when they had them as kids, because it was that generation that were brought up on Grange Hill and fucking Greece and things like that, where they're advertising sex to the young kids and doing the whole marriage relationship thing slightly differently. They're also starting to bring in pornography. You've got page threes. They're changing society to sexualize women and turn them into fucking pieces of shit. Anyway, so yeah, no affection, not one cuddle, that was it. The second husband come in at 6 years of age, I weren't even allowed. I had to knock on the bedroom door. Mum, can I? No. Shut the door. So I weren't even allowed into my own mum's room to wake her up as soon as her husband came. Now, I don't know what took place, but ultimately I can sort of gather what happened. He basically turned round to my mum and said that I'm not his kid, he's not going to pay for anything to do with me, and if she wants him to move into that house, then he's not my dad. Because that's the way it fucking came. That's what happened. He didn't give me anything. I didn't get no money out of it. No fucking. My mum had nothing. My mum had nothing. He was basically a thief. Basically, what you had was a fat fucking ugly fucking piece of shit slag, desperate fucking woman with a child and a council house. You have a slimy fucking little pervert fucking man that's got a desperate, sad little fucking slag woman that would do anything for him and provide him with a free house and food. He ate all the food. She basically, the second he moved in, my food, which wasn't a lot, because she would be dumping, but the social services, as I've pointed, had got involved, and my mum had got better for a little while. After, I think someone grassed her up, because I was always knocking on people's doors. And my mum was constantly leaving me places, so I think someone grasped my mum up to social services about me since my nana died. She had made an effort. She'd bought me a karate suit. I had haircuts and fucking a few clothes bought for me, because before that I had nothing. And then what took place was basically he moved in, and then all of that stopped. My dinners literally just went down. She said, oh, there's no room in the oven. He goes to work. You can have sandwich. You're not having dinners anymore. You get sandwich. After school, you get dinner at school. You don't get dinner. And a lot of parents did that to their children. When a school dinner is not a fucking proper, you're growing. If you're hungry, you're hungry. You need food. And a lot of parents did that to their kids. You're not getting dinner at home. You get sandwich. Most got dinners at home, but some did. They said you've had dinner at school. So I was skinny. I was a skinny little child. But then anyway, even my dinners went down, and she started then cooking. It was just about his dinners. I said, I don't like that. Well, he does. He goes to work. And everything just was about her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was all that mattered. And basically, he lived in a house for free. Was fed off of the gyro my mum was getting for me, and she's then smoking and doing whatever, and then basically I got nothing. Couldn't get haircuts, couldn't get nothing. Other kids would take the piss out of me and shit like that, like, in the end, my hair, I have written it, was basically the other kids cut my hair and styled it into curtains for me, because it was just a fucking big blonde fucking mess. And they did that. That was the younger geezer who lived opposite me, and a geezer who lived down on the A6, who was mates with his older brother. And yeah, they did my hair. What choice have I got in any of that? None. I can't help what I'm born to. I can't help my mum's choices. Yeah, so I had no family. My mum, my stepdad's family became my family. Or we saw his family. Everything was about him and his family. Nothing to my mum's family were no longer anything. So they were my family, and my nan, they welcomed me, my nan and that, and they bought me lots of presents, and they were very good to me like that. So I got presents, and they took me out on days out and things like that. I liked them. They were nice to me. I liked them. And we went to my nan's. My nan lived on a road called Cheviot Road, in a bungalow on Cheviot Road, the other side of Spinney Woods. So you've got a tiny little wood. I will go there at some stage. Another little tiny little wood that basically separates Marsh Farm from a better area. And they basically lived opposite the other side of Spinney Wood from Marsh Farm. And my granddad's had a big family. He had like 7 sisters, and one of his sisters lived round the corner, and we went to their house, and there was his sister lived round the corner, and I think my auntie took me round there, and there were two two kids there, 2 boys. I think I was 9 or 10. And they were, one was my age and one was older. And they were basically they're like my stepdad's second cousins. So they're very distant to him. And basically, well, that was I've been trying to fucking make this video for fucking last 2 years. I find it very easy to talk about people when I'm telling the truth. But it's easy to be, you know, basically they were my cousins, and the older one's Jody, and his younger brother, who was my age, and we were playing football and shit in the back garden, and they were basically exactly the same as I was. The rest of my stepdad's family weren't. They're different. But they were the same as me, and they called me their cousin straight away. And so they were basically my only family, even though they ain't my family in any way, shape or form. I find it very hard. I've tried to get all this out, and because I don't want this. It's not a fucking. I'm trying to fucking tell a story, and it's not about fucking. It's just that I get, because this is how I'm trying to get to the point how fucking broken I was as a human being. By the age of fucking 19 years of age, I think I was 19, I think I might have been 18, when my cousin Jody died. And all he got was one tear at the funeral, when he was the person that I love most in the world. He was the person that I most wanted to be like. He's the person I am most like. In a million different ways. He was my favourite person in the world. He was my role model. Who I thought was the Don. He was the Don then, and is the Don now. Now, when I'm telling the story of my life regarding him, he wasn't a nice person. He was a cunt on a million different fronts, but he is a very nice person to fucking other cunts. But I do tell the story as the story for what it was and what it is. So I am being honest in the. I'm just telling the story how it is. I'm not here to lie and tell you that fucking people that have fucking died are the fucking greatest and fucking most specialist fucking people on the earth. He was the most special person on the earth to me, that young kid. He influenced my life more than any other person. When I sit here and I watch myself back on camera, he jumps out at me all the time. In just little things. It's hard to, the way I pronounce words, the way I fucking, just things I do. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like, he was my hero as a kid. And in a way, I'm lucky because I weren't his younger brother. Him and his younger brother, at the time, you want older brothers and you haven't got none. And other people do, but you know, now I look back and I see that I had loads of older brothers, but they just weren't my actual fucking blood relation. But I was lucky because a lot of them were nicer to me than they were their own brothers. He was horrible. He could be horrible to everyone. He was vicious with his work. And was a complete fucking comedy genius. He was the funniest person I knew, bar none. And he called me his little, he's 3 years older than me, and he called me his little cousin. And I loved him more than anyone else. I wanted to be just like, I wanted to be like him more than any other person. And I am. But it took me to watching myself on camera to take in how to see with my own eyes how much of him I actually took on. And by 18 years of age, before that, but he died when I was 18. And around that 18, 19, I think he died. I can't remember the age. I know I was living I was still at my mum and stepdad's, but I was just moving out, I think. I could have been 19. I think I moved out when I was just about turned 19, I think I was 18, maybe 19, I can't really remember. And I didn't really care that he died. I didn't really care. One tear at the funeral of me looking at that coffin. One tear. And I just wiped that away. Like, my first ever friend from when I was a baby, who I loved, my best mate brother, like I said, I was his younger brother because the pain, I knew him better than anyone because I saw I got vicious. He was vicious to me as a kid. Both were fucking could be cunts to me, but they both were cunts to everyone. You know, and it's not about that. It's, he didn't even get a tear. Because I didn't even get to go to his fucking funeral because I didn't even fucking know about it. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to carry on talking, and I might have to cut the fucking videos in half. I just needed to get that out, basically. Hopefully that's out now. I've tried to make sure that I don't want nothing to, you know, I'm not here to fucking be fucking one of these actors who do, I'm not here for fucking sympathy. I just find it hard to talk about certain things. Hopefully that's out. Anyway, I went round to their nan's house, who lived on the same little bit, well, just round the corner in Sundon Park. And I met my two cousins, and they called me their cousin. We were playing football and everything, and they were like me. They were just the same as I was. They weren't. I met a couple. There was another kid who was a similar age, who was, I think, my nan's sister's kid. And I got on well with him, but I don't know, they're different kids. I was the same as these kids. These were kids like all my mates on my estate as well. So we got on. And I then bumped into the younger one, a little while later, and then I ended up going back to their house with him. And that was where I basically got into the fucking rave music, the rave scene. His older brother, Jody, was probably 13 years of age. And he's well into the music. Like, they got fucking, they had a proper wicked sound system in their bedroom, some Jamo speakers. He's got the fucking tunes pumping out. He's got fucking, I'll give what he looked like. I watched years later. Where was I? It was not long after he fucking died. A couple of years after he died, I think. I was watching Love, Honor and Obey, and at the beginning, I think it's the beginning, but Jude Law is walking up the road wearing this fucking leather coat, and he doesn't look like Jude Law as such, but he's quite similar to the way Jude Law looks. That build, like quite slim build, you know. He had this leather jacket on the same way, but when I met him, when I went, he had like long curly fucking, he had dark hair, but curly permed fucking hair, like rave scene fucking, that was what the main fucking hairdo at the beginning of the fucking rave scene was the curtains and the fucking, he had permed hair. I wanted hair. I wanted permed hair. I tried to fucking perm my hair. My hair does, well, I couldn't get a perm. What I tried to do with my hair was get fucking, I put curlers in it, then hot curling fucking things that you fucking rolled your hair up for people who couldn't afford to get a fucking perm, basically. And it just looked stupid because my hair was too fucking long and fucking straight. But yeah, he basically, well, changed the course of my life to a certain degree. I wanted to be just like him. His younger brother wanted to be just like him. He was the fucking Don. To me, he was the Don. And I was lucky because I went to his fucking, when I started high school, I went to the same high school as him, where for some reason the younger brother, who was my age, didn't get into Icknield High School. He was 2 doors up from the catchment area, and his own brother went to the school, but then they said, oh no, but you're not coming here. And I think it was because his older brother, Jody, he was a fucking cunt at school. And they didn't want the brother there as well. And so they literally tried to get him into, and they just refused outright to let him into Icknield High School. So he didn't go to Icknield. And I went to Icknield. And up to that point, I was into hip-hop. My best mate fucking dad, he was mixed race, and he was the person who instructed me most on my life up to that age, on how to behave, how to dress, how to act, where to go, what to do, who to talk, the way you should be acting in the world. He basically was teaching me how to act and be in the world, or be a bad man. Basically, you need to be a little bad man. You got to be a bad man, because because it's a bad world and you need to be a bad man to survive in this bad world. And he taught me how to dance and shit like that. So it was hip hop, but yeah, then yeah. So my cousin was into the fucking acid house scene, and then that just became my music. I wanted to be like him. I couldn't be like my fucking best mate dad, because although he was mixed race, he was black. He hung around with mainly black people, and was basically a little yardie. And I couldn't be that. I was under no illusions about that. I wore bits of the fashion, so I'd have things and he'd do pin rolls on my fucking trousers and shit, and make me do pin rolls and things like that. But you know, I was well aware that white people who acted black were fucking taken the piss out of by black people and cussed for that. Even though he's telling me that and trying to get me to fucking... because he was a habitual liar, like a lot of kids are, but he's telling me to tell people that I was quarter caste. I was going, nah, I've got blonde hair, I'm not doing it. And he's going, tell him. I was going, nah. But he started putting patterns and shit in my hair because he'd cut my hair. And then he's the geezer he looked up to, who lived on Trinity Road. He was wicked at fucking cutting hair and all of that, so he started writing patterns and shit in my hair, and it looked stupid because I was a white geezer with blonde hair, and those patterns looked shit in my fucking hair. Or name, he wrote Tez on the back of my fucking head, and I was like, nah, because it looks fucking stupid. I can't fucking, you know, I'm not gonna fucking do it. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not, nah, because I look fucking stupid. You're not gonna tell me to fucking pretend I'm fucking mixed race, quarter caste, or fucking have patterns and shit in my hair. Because one, you're telling me and showing me that white people that act fucking black are fucking clowns, and they get to people take the piss out of them. And you know what I mean, while at the same time trying to get me to lie at the same time. But yeah, my cousin Jody was just the fucking Don to me at that age. To me, he was the Don. And it had nothing to do with the fact that he weren't about being hard. It had nothing to do with being hard. I never wanted to fucking be hard. Sort of. I just wanted to have a laugh. He was the fucking... Well, I'm lying. I did want to be hard as well, but not as a cunt like that. Like my best mate dad wanted to be hard. And a cunt. He was a terrorist. He could be a terrorist to people. A terrorist. And a lot of the people he knew were terrorists to other people as well, where I didn't really like what they did to other people. They rob them, and, you know, they're bad cunts to fucking people, bullies, and, you know, mash them up and do bad shit to people all the time just to be a cunt and to rob them. And I weren't really that way inclined. I didn't like it. I didn't like doing that. I was there, but I always felt guilty and sorry for the people that they did that to. Even though, you know, it might mean I get the bus home instead of having to walk home from town, or get into the cinema, or get into the youth house, or fucking get a can of drink and a fucking patty or something. But I knew I couldn't be, you know, I am like, and to be honest with you, again, when I watch myself back on video and I'm watching certain ways and I look at myself, I think, fucking hell, I'm like a white black geezer without fucking knowing that I was a fucking sort of have expressions and do things like a black person would. and pronounce words. And I didn't even know I did that until I watched it back on the fucking camera. And I think, fuck me, I'm like a fucking white black geezer sometimes, the way I fucking move about and fucking say things and do things without even realising that I did it. Just exactly the same way as I didn't realise how much of my cousin I'd taken on. But when I think back, I wanted to be just like him. To me, he was my hero. He was the person who I wanted to be more like than anyone else, and am. I see him all the time. It's just in, like I said, in the way I pronounce a word, in the way I move my body, in the way and normally when I'm doing mad shit, to be honest, because he was a nutter. He was the original nutter, the original raver. He was the original raver, the original Don, and that was where he was at his best. And the maddest thing is that I barely spent any time with him at a rave. Barely any time whatsoever. I went to a couple of raves with him, but I'm a lot younger than him, and he hung around with older people as well. So ultimately, it was, I'm allowed to hang around up to a certain point in the house or on the streets. But when it's rave time, it's, ultimately, you know what I mean? You go off with the fucking younger brother, and I'm doing man shit now, you know what I mean? I'm in the, you know what I mean? Yes, whatever, fucking, you're right there, little man, fuck off, you ain't hanging around with me while I'm at the, you do your own shit, I'm doing my shit, because I'm at the rave now. So although the rave scene governed our life, I barely fucking ever went to a rave with him, which is the maddest fucked up thing about it. Now, I want to talk about how the rave scene worked. Now, so I'm into acid house, so I'm borrowing tapes, so he's lending me tapes and everything like that. So I'm fucking borrowing fucking tapes and shit off of him, and I'm now into I'm into the tunes and fucking all of that. And so the rave scene was what started to fucking take hold of me. Then I just want to get to this. So yeah, the first time I ever got drunk, I'd smoked weed before I got drunk. So my best mate, brother, who's no longer with us, little D, was the first person I ever smoked dope with. I ever smoked weed. Hash. Red Seal. Or 00, one of them. I remember it clearly, just being fucking hot, smoking the fucking joints and being in the back garden, laying on the fucking grass, just like, fuck you now. I think I was 10, 9, maybe 9 or 10. 10, I think. Maybe 9. And then, so yeah, they're all the older kids on my estate are all smoking fucking weed, because on the estate you've got fucking little D. Little D was a year older than me. The the younger brother was 2 years older than me. My best mate, the dad, was 2 years older than me. Big D's 3 years older. You've got his older brother, the person who lived more or less opposite next door. He hung around with a group, he had his own mates, a different group of mates. And then they had Little D, and Big D had another cousin who was even older than them. It was Italian, you know, so I'm more or less the youngest. I had that little fucking cunt Troy Mitchell over in fucking Spain. He was around, but he weren't around as much. He weren't out playing all the time, and there'd be stages where he weren't around at all and I was hanging around with them, and then I'd stop hanging around with that group because I'd had an argument or been beaten up or they'd done something to me, and I wouldn't hang around with them for a little while. And then he'd be hanging around with them and they'd try and get him to fight me. I think I've kicked the fuck out of him about 4 fucking times. I don't think that fucking wimp ever even landed a fucking punch on me. Because they used to make him fight me all the time, and I'd just kick the fuck out of him because he was a little mummy's boy. And he weren't really around that much. Then there was my fucking best mate, arch enemy, who was my age, who moved to my estate, and he was around, but he got battered and shit all the time, and a lot of people didn't like him around because he just annoyed everyone, so he got battered all the time and stuff like that. I would be around, but then, you know what I mean, I'd get battered or they'd do something and I'd just say, right, fuck you, so I'm not fucking hanging around with, because I had loads of other mates elsewhere as well. I weren't only mates with fucking poor people. At my school friends and a lot of things like that were quite rich. I knew rich people, and some were my like best mates at school, and you know, I did hang around with them out of school as well for little periods in junior school and in high school. I knew quite a lot of people who were well off, like in class. In high school, when I first got to high school, I sat next to a black geezer who was him and another geezer, Big Gay Dave, were my best mates in class, and they were both quite well off. Both of them were quite rich in general. I didn't really hang around with Big Gay Dave that much at school. I went and seen him a couple of times and went round to his house a couple of times. The black geezer sort of did start hanging around with us for a little while and then stopped because I think he started getting in trouble at school. And I have a sneaky feeling that because the school are very good at ringing up parents to tell them that their children are hanging around with people that they shouldn't be hanging around with, and will get them to split groups of friends and shit like that up. Because he did stop hanging around with us. We did hang around together, but I think I got him into trouble because he was quite well behaved before he started hanging around with me and fucking Roach and fucking all of our little group of mates at school. So I did know fucking rich people. In junior school, my best mate they were fairly rich. Compared to rich as in, you know, they've got a nice house, videos, car. They're better off. Rich, I wouldn't know if they were rich or not. They were just better off. A lot better off than I was. Rich is probably a bit too much, but better off. Yeah, so I knew rich people, but again, he was on my estate, and my best mate dad fucking grabbed him and fucking put him between his legs, walked round the back of the fucking church, St John's Church, where we used to go boys brigade, found a fucking drain cover and fucking DDT'd the poor cunt onto the fucking drain cover. Because that's how spiteful your mates and little kids can be, because you're hanging, and because they're rich and they're just take. And he'd left his bike at my house. We left his bike in my house, and my mum and that had put it outside the fucking door, and the fucking one of them lot would have nicked it. One of my mates would have nicked that bike, and they nicked his bike as well. So you know what I mean. It's hard to have fucking rich mates and bring them up to where you live, because you know what I mean, that you'll have some cunt fucking robbing them and beating them up and doing bad shit. So I did hang around with richer people from better areas, so I weren't only around poor people, but I preferred being with poor people because obviously they're more my people and I'm more the same as them. And that's just the way it was. And yeah, so I started smoking cannabis at fucking 9-10 years of age. It was the summer holidays just before I went to high school. I bumped into my fucking cousin in fucking town, and I think he was with fucking we ended up with fucking the geezer I did my first trip with, his auntie and his sister and that, and we went to fucking Luton Youth House. This was before I started fucking high school. This was literally in the summer holidays before, and we've gone to Luton Youth House and shit, because Luton Youth House was pretty cool on a fucking Saturday. A good place to go. They got bouncy castle in there. You can play five-a-side, you know, and it cost you fucking 20p to fucking get in or some shit like that. And you could always blag them a little bit and say, well, I haven't got, you know, if you went there with a group of you and you had enough money between you to make it look like you've more or less paid to get in, you'd all get in. They weren't strict like that, I don't think. And obviously you've got tunes playing, a bouncy castle, you've got fucking shit in there to do on a fucking Saturday afternoon, on a Saturday morning. And you had a tape player upstairs, a stereo in the fucking up thing. So I remember being with my cousin, and we were in there fucking whacking fucking tunes on in the fucking stereo, because he'd have all the fucking rave tapes off his older brother, because he wants to be like his older brother as well. And yeah, everyone you know is a fucking alcoholic near. Everyone you know is a fucking alcoholic or fucking into some shit, smoking dope or something like that. You know, you've got some people's parents smoke weed and that. My best mate, arch enemy, who was my age, his mum smoked dope. And obviously my cousin's fucking dad and that smoked fucking weed, and my cousin was smoking dope at that time. So the younger cousin would nick little bits, joints of dope, and fucking, you know, he'd get money. So he'd go, right, we're going to get drunk. I've got a fucking spliff. And you know what I mean? You'd go out and fucking... So at 10 years of age, I got pissed. We bought a fucking bottle of red Thunderbirds, I think it is, which is the strong one, or blue. Either way, there's one of those Thunderbird wines that is fucking strong, and fuck me. Drunk half a bottle of that each, and fuck me, I was fucking puking my fucking guts up fucking everywhere, and all the older kids had got me, and they put me in this fucking, we're in fucking my best mate dad's cousin's fucking garden, and they got me a coffee, and I'm fucking trying to drink the coffee, and I've got down to the bottom of the coffee, and there's fucking... everyone's put their fag butts in the fucking coffee, and I'm fucking puking up everywhere. I'm on the floor like this. and my fucking hands gave way and I'm laying in the fucking sick. I'm fucking 10, 11 years of age, fucking mullered with fucking laying in fucking parts. It was just atrocious. But for some reason, I decided that that was great and that would be something I do all the fucking time. But yeah, so drinking drugs for me started before I got to high school, because that's my surrounding. I didn't choose my surrounding. I didn't choose my friends. Well, I did choose my friends up to a degree. But do you choose them, or do you just end up with the people that are most similar to you? I enjoyed being with them because it was always fun and a good laugh, and we always did shit. I did know other kids on the estate who weren't in that gang who were good. But they're not out as much. They weren't out the house as much, or doing the shit that everyone else was doing, which was fun. And, you know, I was allowed to be part of that big gang. But obviously I'm the youngest. So the youngest always gets picked on. That's the rules. I don't make the rules, you know what I mean? But that's the way it worked anyway, you know what I mean? So, and you know what I mean, if they're doing shit like fucking, you're doing bad shit, they'll trick you up on the, you know what I mean, and fuck you up, and you know, you're the one. So you have to keep, my whole life I've always had to keep an eye out and an ear out for the bigger people, for fucking, you know, causing me fucking pain and mischief, basically. Do you know what I mean? Or get you, you know what I mean? You've got to be on your toes as a kid when you're that age, because, and especially my little D, who's no longer with us, because he got it, everything he got, he made sure that he put down onto me, because he was a cunt. But yeah, so yeah, my cousin was the person who most influenced my life. And yeah, I went to high school. When I went to high school, he went to that high school, and I knew when I first went to the high school, I weren't in the kids' playground. You got two playgrounds, because you have the lower high school and then the upper high school. I was in the upper high school playground because I knew everyone in the thing, because that's who I hung around with. I hung around with the older kids. I weren't really with the younger kids. So that caused me quite a little bit of shit with the younger kids, because they were jealous because I was with all the older kids. But yeah, my cousin was there, and not for long, no, not for long, but basically, because he was there, I would go home and hang around with my cousin all the time after school, because he liked me being around, because I was quite funny. I was popular with all the older kids as well, because I'm nearly at their level, because I'm hanging around with them all the time in my language. Size, strength, I'm a fucking tiny little baby, but my language and my cussing and my jokes and stuff were at their level. So a lot of people liked me because I was this little cheeky little fucking blonde fucker that made people laugh. But yeah, I've wrote about it to me, but yeah, my cousin had nothing to do with being hard. I didn't care whether he was hard or not. Nothing, you know, ultimately I don't judge anyone because they're hard on whether they fucking, who they are or what they are, you know what I mean? My cousin was the Don because he was a complete comedian and a fucking, and the best with his words, and he was always the main man, the centre of attention. Because he was, to me, he was the Don. And yeah, he looked like, at school, when I went to school, he was like a proper geezer with this black leather coat on. He had a leather coat on, and his hair was all fucking gelled up with fucking his curls and that in it, and yeah, I walked through the fucking school and he'd just been expelled. He's gone, I've just been fucking expelled. I've gone, oh, fuck, have it? He's gone, yeah, fuck it. And the headmaster walked up to him, Mr. Ford, and he's gone, right, there you go. There's your expulsion letter. And he's gone, whoopee-doo, mate. What do you want me to do with that? Jump up and down and wiggle my willy? And then he's gone like this. Later, and just screamed in the laters, screamed into the into the headmaster's face, and me and him were bowling across the fucking playground like this, and the fucking headmaster's gone, oi, you get here now. I've went, it's my cousin. I'm going to their house. I go to their house after fucking school. You know what I mean? So he couldn't do shit, and I just remember bowling through the playground with my cousin, and ultimately, to me, he was just the fucking Don. And like I said, he called me his cousin. He called me his cousin. He was happy for me to be his cousin, and they were my only family. Him and his brother and his mum. I didn't really like their dad. I didn't like their dad. Their dad never ever made me feel welcome in any way, shape or form. But I just want to point this out before I go into anything else while I'm on the subject. He had a great dad. My cousin had a great dad. And even at that moment in time when I started not to like him, when the drink had fucking done him and he's doing bad shit, and he did need a good kicking from a man. The world doesn't work how it should work in any way, shape or form, and you can't blame individuals for anything that happens in the world. He had a great dad. On a million different fronts, a million times better dad than a lot of the people he knew had. A great dad. And even if his dad would have come round and given him a good kicking for his behaviour sometimes towards his mum, which wasn't all the time, but it could be sometimes, especially mainly when the drink was involved, because he's not conscious of what he's doing. And as a kid, I just want to get to this, as a kid, I'm everything that I saw. I became everything that I saw in my cousin that I didn't like. A few years down the line, around the same age he was doing it, if not worse on some things. I didn't spit at my mum. I did threaten my mum that I was going to stab her to death, though. I've spat at women before. I've spat at a lot of people. I've done bad things. I became everything as a child when you're looking up to the person that you loved. When I started to not like quite a lot of his character. A couple of years, but later on, I'm exactly in the same position as he was. The only reason I'm not dead from drugs is because I had a kid. Otherwise, I'd have probably died from drug addiction. I had something to live for, to just about give me enough to just about manage and not go over the edge. Just. Otherwise, I'd have gone exactly the same way as my cousin, who was my role model. And he had a great dad, and even if his dad did go round there and give him a good kicking, all that would have happened was that, because that's how this world works, is that he wouldn't have gone and he wouldn't have ever spoken to him again, or wouldn't have gone round there, or wouldn't have spoken to him, and you'd have just lost contact altogether, which would have been even worse than fucking anything. There's nothing his dad could have done. His dad the fact that he sold a little bit of fucking speed for his fucking dad at a rave didn't really contribute to anything in his life. I know shitloads of people that are dead from drugs. That didn't have weren't involved in that scene. That scene had it had nothing to do with anything. In fact, it probably made him more fucking sensible, really, on a lot of fronts. But it's just the way it was. And the biggest problem was the drink. The drink. It was the drink. It was the combination of drink and drugs. It was the drink that was the problem. And the drugs, because the drugs mean that you can drink longer, and the drugs are fucking your brain up more. So it was a combination, but it's the drink that kills. Because it's the drink that makes the liver and everything inside your body and all your organs pack up. So none of that done anything or caused anything or done anything, because there was millions of kids involved in the rave scene, millions and millions and millions. It was a massive thing in the fucking 90s, and regardless of who your parents were or what your parents did, it didn't put any factors into that, really. Bits of his character that, like wanting to be a gangster and, obviously, but everyone wants to do that as well. So he did nothing. It had nothing to do like that. He had a great dad. And this is the point I'm trying to get to. He had a great dad. He had a great mum. Great nan. Great everything. It doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with anything. Forget sob stories that you'll hear out of a junkie's fucking mouth. Most people take drugs because it's fun and they're bored. And it was aimed at them when they were children. Forget sob stories and why they're in a life of addiction and all of that shit. The majority of people end up drug addicts because they were made to go to the society. The world dictated that was the place that you need to go if you want to be anyone in your surroundings of where you fucking hang around, because everyone else you knows goes. So that's where you've got to go to fit in with everyone else if you want to be part of what everyone else is fucking doing. There's nothing the parents can do. Nothing at all. It was out of their hands. Which is the points I'm trying to make, is because they take the kids away from the parents. There's nothing his dad could have done. He had a great dad. He had a better dad than nearly everyone else I fucking knew. So I just want to get that out. It's the scene that kills. It was the scene that kills. And not only the rave, because the raves are such a small fucking part of it. The rave itself is such a small fucking part of your life, yet it is what governs everything. And this is what I'm trying to get to. But I did want to just clear that up. Now, so I was lucky in a way, where my cousin was concerned. Luckier than his brother in certain aspects, because his older brother was more mean to him. He's, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the geezer was a nice geezer, because he weren't. He was a nice cunt. I'm not a nice geezer. I'm a nice cunt. And he was the person I most wanted to be like, and he's the person I ended up most like on every avenue, and am still today. And like I said, he comes out in, he's in me, that I see all the time. And it's that got me to the, ultimately, like, how broken I was. That the person I love more than anything on earth, any other person on earth, when he died, all he got was one tear at a fucking funeral. Because that's how broke I was. And my first ever friend didn't even get that, because I didn't go to the funeral. My mate's brother, who died, I didn't even really know or like, got exactly the same as the person I loved the most, because I was broken, more or less broken or damaged, up to the point where I'm bordering on completely broken, but I wasn't quite completely broken, because I still got that tear, just. But to me, that was a sign of weakness, because I couldn't let my emotions get in the way of anything in my life, because I'd had to learn to be on my own, because I was on my own, because I had no family other than those 3 people. And I was a hindrance to the mum, because I'm eating her food and shit like that when she couldn't afford to fucking give it. But yeah, when I went, they were my only family that I could talk to in any way, shape or form. My nan and my auntie on my dad's side, stepdad's side, was very nice to me and giving me presents and things like that. But ultimately, I did ring my auntie when her husband, her brother, had put a beating on me at 11 years of age, like a man's beating, where I'm on the floor and he's kicking me on the floor with Dr. Martens on. And she must have told her mum, and no one came to talk to me about that. My nan did pull me to one side because I'd done a fucking sponsored swim. I did 50 lengths of Bath Road for the British Heart Foundation, and I'd raised loads of money. And my mum nicked the money and spent it all. So then I kept fucking saying, I've got to give the fucking money in. And then apparently the bloke who was the organiser of that worked at my nan's company, because my nan was quite high up in a business. She was high up in a company. She was a manager of some sorts in a big company. And she pulled me to one side to ask me about that money, because the name Sace had come up, and basically it's a rare name. And he'd asked if she knew who Terry Sace was, and she said, it's my grandson. And she pulled me to one side to ask me about that money. No one pulled me to one side to ask me about the beating that I'd suffered from her son. So ultimately, that's family. That's family doing what is necessary to protect children, not worrying about upsetting adults. It's about doing what's necessary for children. And ultimately, to to be honest with you, I didn't really, because I hated him. They sort of aren't my family from that moment on, when I asked for help and it weren't there. So these people were my only family, and they weren't even my family of any type blood thing, but the name came out and I loved them because they were such a massive part of my life and influenced my life, and it was all I had. And yeah, I'm certain that video is going to cut off. I might leave it there and carry on. Shall I just start my fucking joint and just keep talking? I'm certain that fucking phone's gonna run out. I'm at 2 hours fucking 50 fucking minutes. I haven't even lit my fucking joint. So the rave scene was just taking off. Was at the start really. 1990. Obviously, I know it started a little bit 89, 80, but you know, it started 1990 was where it was really starting to take hold. 1991 was when I started high school. And that was the course then that my life took, was the rave scene and wanting to go to raves. And wanting to be like my cousin. Who wanted to be like the older kids. And like I said, I'm lucky because I weren't his brother in a way, because he could be quite horrible to his brother, and they would argue all the time, and I hung around with both in their own right, but Jodie went to my school. Jodie hung around in Rumfold as well, where I hung around. Well, the younger brother went to fucking Stopsley, and so he hung around up in Stopsley with his schoolmates a lot more than coming down to. He did come down there, but he was more up that way. So I hung around my cousin a lot more, the older one, than the younger one sometimes. A lot of the time, I think I hung around with him more. Because I'd see him at school, I'd end up going back with him after school. If I was off school, I might even go, and because he'd been expelled, I'd go round and knock round and go and see him, or I'd see him out when I was off school and bump into tea. And the rave scene. I want to talk about the rave scene. I'm going to cut the video. I'm going to cut the video, watch it back, and then go into the rave scene on a bigger level. so I can get my head round what I'm trying to say, because I've got it out, the bit I've been struggling to get out for a long time. That'll do.